All right, so welcome back, guys, once again to this Oracle Identity Federation and Internet Directory Installation series. So, just we talked about, in the previous video, just a quick example um of what an identity federation is all about, right? Like we have two entities. One would be the identity provider, service provider, and as I was explaining to you guys, so currently I've just installed this database and the complete software, for identity federation and internet directly on just one machine, which I'm considering it as an identity provider based on this example here. Okay. Uh, since I don't have sufficient RAM, or probably my system is my the host machine is kind of extremely slow. I may not be able to allocate equal amount of RAM, a good amount of RAM, to my other machine to act as a service provider, right? So I'm just trying to manage configuring it in just one machine, okay? And then probably you guys, when if you have a good laptop with higher RAM capability, like minimum 16 or 20, 30, 32 gig RAM, then you can actually try doing that. Okay, but as per the documentation, what I understood is even it's even it's just a 4 GB RAM on each machine is sufficient. But when we are trying to do actually right, like I don't think it is sufficient, because there are a lot of Java related processes that get run that run, and then at the time of installing, and then they consume a lot of memory and all that, right? So ideally, I think it would be better if you allocate 8 GB RAM to each machine. Okay, so yeah, that's my recommendation. So yeah, so let's without further delay, let's proceed now. So as we talked about this Transcend Federation and Map Federation. So as I said, like Transcend Federation is just a one-way trust. Okay, one-way trust, and uh, the Map Federation is kind of two-way trust. So ideally, I gave you an example, like you may have to consider a user existing in this particular company, existing in only directory of only one company, right? Like say for example, my ABC Corp directory. Let's say like user is existing in this directory. In this case, when he's trying to access the application hosted in the other domain, so this XYZ Travel Incorporated company, he would be, they would be just merely, trusting this user based on the user's, authentication and so on, right? Like but if say, for example, if the users are existing, in both the directories of the two companies or domains, right? Then there'll be kind of mutual two-way kind of trust getting established. Okay, so in that case, it is a kind of mapped federation, right? So that's what I was trying to explain here. Now let's proceed with the actual configuration, guys. So I'm going to quickly go to the EM console, go to Oracle Identity Federation here. So since as I mentioned, this mission I'm considering as an identity provider, I'm just going to show you just the particular configuration. So go to administration identity provider, okay? And here you have to ensure this enable identity provider under the common tab. You need to ensure that enable identity provider option is enabled. So in our case, this is the default option, so it's already enabled. Okay, so you may have to just copy this provider ID and other such details. So, and also as a quick explanation, like you can see, like whether you want to configure the session happening via SAML 2.0 protocol, SAML 1.x, or Federation OpenID, and so on. Okay, so right now we are not going to discuss about those options at this in this particular video. We are just going to quickly kind of validate some of the options that we see here. Okay, so yeah, so just make sure that enable identity provider option is enabled here. Okay, and in the same way, just go to administration. Okay, and then go to service provider here. Okay, and this particular option, right, enable service provider option, it should be unchecked here. Okay, so as I mentioned, sometimes you will also you can also have one particular entity to act as both IDP and service provider. But in my current example, I'm just going to make this mission as an identity provider. So the service provider option will be deselected. Okay, So in the same way, in your actual example, right, like you may have to, follow this exact step. Okay, in your if you're configuring the separate machine for service provider, there you have to just ensure this option is selected and the identity provider option is deselected. Okay, it's just the complement of the other. It's just the complement of the current option that we do in the identity provider machine. Okay, so this is the very first step that you guys have to do, guys. Okay. All right. So also just as a quick note, like, you can just go through some of the, settings similar, related to assertion and so on. Okay. So since I'm just going to talk primarily about the identity provider settings, I'm not going to modify anything here. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So I just, deselected the enable service provider option there. Okay. So just make a note of it. I think even you can actually, and deselect the option map assertion to user account. Okay. Uh, you may have to just, unselect or deselect this option. So just go to identity provider administration, Oracle Identity Foundation administration, go to identity provider. So here under the common tab, enable identity provider option should be selected. It is already done. So we're not going to make any changes. Just go to, in the same way, the service provider here. Okay, this option should be deselected. These two options should be deselected. Just click on apply. So this exact similar step, we have to do it in the service provider machine. So it will be just the other way around. Okay. All right. So we'll proceed with the further, configuration steps. I wanted to make videos as short as possible. So so it will be, we can explain things, more. We'll be able to cover or explain, things in a better way. So I'm just, stopping this video here. Let's talk about the further configuration steps in a separate video. Thank you, guys.